Hello kids. So today we are going to study about development of cardiovascular system. It is a core competency, so you should know development of heart thoroughly. And the questions which are asked in this are, it could be development of right atrium or ventricle. They can be asked in association with other questions, like write the development of right atrium under following heads. In that you will get development, or it may be asked as a short note on ASD, VSD, tetralogy of Fallot, or on the propatency test. Okay, it is important from the practical examination point of view, where models are available for the development of heart. So development of cardiovascular system, before starting this you should know about the intraembryonic disc. Okay, so in the this development, this can be studied as development of heart and development of blood vessels. Okay, so the development of blood vessels we will study in our next lecture along with the pericardial cavity. Today we will develop the whole heart with its interior and the exterior. The heart is first organ to function in human embryo. It starts beating as early as 21 days and start pumping blood around 24 days. So all the remodeling of the interior of heart, it is occurring while the heart is functioning. Okay, so it is asymmetric organ. The right side is not exact replica of the left side. So events in the cardiogenic area, in this first understand that there is formation of the intraembryonic coelom. Okay, so understand this thing. This is a developing embryonic disc. This is caudal end because it is having connecting stalk. This is primitive stick. This is Henson's node. Now the cells in the primitive stick, these are pluripotent cells, and they are responsible for formation of the intraembryonic mesoderm, that is during the process of gastrulation. Okay, so now this so when the development proceeds, now we will skip the remaining part and just understand this, that see, now this is primitive stick, this is Henson's node. Okay, this is developing. Okay, this is developing neural tube or the neural plate initially. In its cranial part there is procaudal plate. Now with the development of intraembryonic mesoderm, on each side there will be developing somites. And lateral to that, with the development of intraembryonic coelom. Now I am going to draw the intraembryonic coelom. This coelom, it does not extend in the cranial most part, where this cranial most part will form septum transversus. Okay, this is now procaudal plate. Now this area of the intraembryonic mesoderm, it is divided into two parts. Intraembryonic mesoderm is divided into two parts. The lateral part is the somatopleuric intraembryonic mesoderm, and this is planknopleuric intraembryonic mesoderm. Right, now this area here I will draw with red, just below this intraembryonic coelom. This is cardiogenic area. Okay, this cardiogenic area is the site where future heart will form. Now this intraembryonic coelom, it is this part which is overlying cardiogenic. This part will form the pericardial cavity. Okay, so this part will form pericardial cavity. Right, now this diagram is very important as we study the development. Now understand the difference between vasculogenesis and angiogenesis. The formation Now the cardiogenic area, in the cardiogenic area what happens is all the cells of the mesoderm, heart develops from the intraembryonic mesoderm. Now the cells of this mesoderm, they form blood islands. Islands are the places where the cells, they will come together. Okay, if you want to show the live cell, you have to show the nucleus. So these are blood islands. Now the cells in these islands, they will differentiate themselves in such a way that the peripheral cells, they will become flat to form endothelium, while the central cells, they will remain loose to form blood cells. Okay, so this is vasculogenesis. Now what is angiogenesis? Vasculogenesis is means the process of formation of primitive blood vessels. Now these blood vessels, they will undergo further changes to form definitive structure. This is angiogenesis. Okay, so these are the changes. So what is cardiogenic area? Cardiogenic area is situated just below the intraembryonic coelom, below the septum transversus, where the future pericardial cavity will be formed. This is cardiogenic area, and this area will undergo changes to ultimately form the heart. Now this is the same diagram which we have already studied, right? So this we have discussed. This is septum transversus. This is pericardial cavity. These are developing endocardial heart tubes. This is procaudal plate, neural tube. These are the intrasomites. This is coelom, and this is lateral plate mesoderm, and this is splanchnopluric lateral plate mesoderm. Okay, now what you need to understand here is, see, till this development, the head fold is not formed. Okay, the head fold will form because of development of neural tube. This neural tube will go faster, and it will form in such a way that now you imagine a developed baby. This is the part of cerebral, this part will form cerebral hemisphere. This procaudal plate, this will be the future mouth, and this will be neck, and this septum transversus, this will form part of diaphragm. Okay, so this part, it will fold on itself. Okay, this is very important. So events in the cardiogenic, splanchnopluric mesoderm, it will form cardiogenic field. The cardiac progenitor cells, they develop in the lateral to the primitive stick. Head fold will be formed. The primary heart field, it will come lie to the dorsal side of pericardial sac. Okay, now here this we will study in detail with the development of pericardial cavity. Okay, the endoderm of primitive pharynx, it induces vasculogenesis. Now understand one thing here, there is a cascade, it is called as induction. Okay, this is genetic phenomenon in which the genes, they promote each other for future development and differentiation into the definitive form. It is interdependent. Okay, so nobody will ask you this is just for understanding, because the events, they are occurring, there are multiple changes which are occurring. And why? See, anybody can think why these changes are occurring, because it is ultimately dependent on the induction by the genes. Okay, the genes, they will stimulate few cells to form one particular type of cell. Okay, so the endoderm of primitive pharynx, it will induce vasculogenesis. The small vessels will join to form endothelial heart tubes, which give rise to endocardium. Okay, the splanchnopluric mesoderm that lie between heart tube and the form myoepicardial mantle. So simply just understand that this is a developing gut, endoderm, with the formation of the head tube, head fold, the tubular structure is formed. This is developing foregut. These are the developing heart tubes. And here is the pericardial cavity. Now the mesoderm, which is surrounding here, this will ultimately form myoepicardial mantle. details we will see along with the pericardial cavity. This myoepicardial mantle will ultimately form the myocardium of the heart and the epicardium, that is visceral layer of pericardium. Then somatopleuric mesoderm that surrounds pericardial cavity form parietal layer of pericardium. Now we have seen here, this is pericardial cavity and the layer which is surrounding this. This is somatopleuric layer. So if we just go back in this diagram, see, understand, this is the pericardial cavity. On one side there is splanchno-pleuric mesoderm and on another side there is parietal pleuric. Okay, so this is the same thing we are studying here. So this is the somatopleuric mesoderm. Now head fold. Understand the changes which are occurring. This is before the formation of the head fold, where this is septum transversus. This is the developing pericardial cavity. These are the developing heart tubes. This is part of oropharyngeal membrane, where ectoderm, endoderm, they are in continuation with each other, and the mesoderm does not extend in this area, and this will form future mouth. This is developing brain. As development proceeds with the formation of the head fold, okay, see what will happen. The cranial folding, it rotates the cardiogenic area, see, and it moves ventrally caudally and orients the heart tube and the pericardial cavity. Okay, so understand that initially these two heart tubes they are formed, but with formation of lateral folds, these heart tubes they will fuse with each other. Okay, so heart tubes. So first what happens is, initially there are two heart tubes, and these two heart tubes they will fuse with each other craniocaudally, but the caudal-most portion it remain unfused. So this is cranial end, this is caudal end, and the caudal portion it remains unfused. This tube it shows dilatations. These dilatations are bulbus cordis, primitive ventricle, primitive atrium, and unfused part, that is sinus venosus. So around third week, two heart tubes fuse. The end of heart tubes remain bifurcated. The heart tube soon forms dilatations craniocaudally. Now, what are the fates of this? Understand one more thing. This bulbus cordis is having three different parts. Okay. The truncus arteriosus. It is the cranial part of bulbus cordis, and it will form arterial end, while the sinus venosus, it is caudal part and it will form venous end. Okay, you know caudally there is septum transversus. Okay, here there is septum transversus. Now when with the development of full heart, these derivatives, these are asked as a short note. So what are the derivatives? So this first truncus arteriosus, we discuss that this truncus arteriosus, it will form the conducting part. So it will form ascending aorta and the pulmonary trunk. Okay, bulbus cordis, this bulbus cordis, it will form smooth part of right ventricle and the left ventricle, and trabeculated this primitive ventricle. This primitive ventricle, it will form the trabeculated part of right and left ventricle. Okay, primitive atrium, it will form the trabeculated part of right and left atrium. Okay, and sinus venosus, it will form sinus venerum, that is smooth part of right atrium, coronary sinus and oblique vein of atrium. So these are the derivatives. Okay, then see, the development, it is occurring internal as well as external aspect of the heart. Okay, so we have seen the formation of the heart tubes along with their dilatation. So these are the dilated heart tube. As development proceeds, this heart tube, see, understand, posteriorly there is dorsal mesocardium, It is connected posterior wall with the dorsal mesocardium. As the development proceeds, this heart tube, it grows in such a way that it undergoes looping. First, it will form U-shaped loop. This U-shaped loop will be formed this ventrally, mainly by the bulbus cordis and the ventricle, and posteriorly by the atria and the sinus venosus. This the development as the development proceed, this U shape it will further form S shape loop. How S shape? The developing atria they will go more to form S shape. Okay, so initially the heart tube is placed longitudinally in the pericardial cavity. It is suspended from dorsal wall of pericardial cavity by dorsal mesocardium. First, there is bulboventricular loop, that is U shape, bulboventricular loop, U shape loop. This U shape will further see with the, I told you there is first dorsal mesocardium. As development proceeds, this dorsal mesocardium it disappears, and there is formation of the transverse sinus. So the mesocardium connecting bulboventricular loop disappears to form a gap, and it forms transverse sinus. Then there is formation of S loop as primitive atrium and sinus venosus get free from the septum transversus. We know that below there is septum transversus. These two structures they separate from it and form S-shaped loop. Okay, bulbus cordis and primitive ventricles. Bulbus cordis and primitive ventricles, they are separated by bulboventricular sulcus, which latter disappears, and bulbus cordis and ventricle fuse to form single chamber. Okay, so these are the external changes. Why external changes? It is just a tubular structure. We need to form a definitive heart. Okay, the definitive heart, if you see, it is having the atria, ventricles, and the atria they are more on the posterior aspect. Only the auricular part we can see anteriorly. Okay, then formation of the auricle. Primitive atrium lies dorsal to truncus arteriosus. On expansion, it projects forwards on either side to form auricle. Okay, so these are external changes of the heart. See, these are loop formation. You can see. Okay, this is U type, then S type loop, and here this is the dorsal view where we can see that the sinus venosus, this is sinus venosus, it is having two horns. Okay, unfused part. The venous end of the heart view. The unfused part of the sinus venosus, it forms two horns, that is right and the left. Each horn receives from lateral to medial common cardinal vein from the body wall, umbilical vein from the placenta, and vitelline vein from the yolk sac. Okay. So the sinus venosus, see, understand the sinus venosus. Okay. So I'll just simply draw. Above there are developing atria, and these are sinus venosus. This is right side, this is left side. Each sinus venosus will be joined by common cardinal vein. Now this is on the from lateral to medial aspect. Common cardinal vein, then umbilical vein, and then vitelline vein. Okay, from lateral to medial, similarly this will be common cardinal, umbilical, and vitelline, right and left, right? So this common cardinal vein, it is in turn formed by the anterior and posterior cardinal veins draining upper and the lower part of the body. This is common cardinal is also called as duct of Cuvier. Okay, then this is atrium, and these are sinus venosus. These sinus venosus, they are communicating with the atrium by sinoatrial orifice. Okay, as the development proceeds, understand this thing, as the development proceeds, this, okay, I'll simply draw here again. This is atria, this is right horn of sinus venosus, left horn of sinus venosus, right side, left side. These are the three veins on the right and the left side. This is common cardinal, this is umbilical, and this is vitelline. Now understand, a furrow appears. This is atrium and this is sinus venosus. So this is sinus. This groove appears, a furrow appears between atrium and sinus venosus. Okay, sinoatrial groove. This groove, it deepens. It deepens in such a way that this left horn of sinus venosus, it totally cut from the left atrium, developing. See, within this atrium, ultimately a groove will, a interatrial septum will appear to separate this atrium into right and the left side. So this left horn, it will totally cut from the left atrium and it will join with the right atrium. Okay, so same thing, this is right side, this is left side. I'll draw this sinus venosus with yellow so you will understand. Now this is the left horn of sinus venosus, this is right horn of sinus venosus, and these are now the three of its vessels which are joining it. Okay, so the same thing here. As the development proceeds, the changes, they occur in the left horn. The sinoatrial orifice, a sickle shaped sinoatrial fold, it develops, and this fold separates left horn from the primitive atrium, and thus left horn becomes tributary of the right horn. This is left horn, it is becoming tributary of the right horn. The fate of sinoatrial orifice. What happens to sinoatrial orifice? Initially, it is wide. We have seen it is the connection between atria and the ventricle is the orifice. Initially, it is wide, but then as development proceeds, it shifts to the right side. Okay, the orifice reduces and the right. Okay, it shifts to the right side. See. We have seen, I'll just draw here. See, initially it was large. Now what will happen? This is atria with the formation of interatrial septum, with the shifting of the sinus venosus more on the right side. This orifice, it will ultimately form like this, opening within the right atrium. This opening, this will have a margins, right and the left margins. Okay, these are called as venous walls, and it will open into the interior of right. It will open inside the right atrium. Okay, right atrium. This is sinoatrial orifice. It will open ultimately within the right atrium. Okay. Now the fused portion, okay, of this in the upper part of sinoatrial orifice, in the upper part, it is called as septum spurium. It is called as septum spurium. Now details or the importance of this we will study along with the development of interatrial septum. Okay, now I want all of you to understand here what happens to all these vessels which are opening within the horns of the sinus venosus. Okay, so understand the left vitelline vein, it disappears. Okay, as the development proceeds, this right umbilical vein, it will also disappear. Now we know, see, we already have seen that this is sinus venosus, this is atrium, this is interatrial septum. So now this will be left atrium, this is right atrium. Okay, now as development proceeds, this is the left horn of sinus venosus. Okay, this is right horn of sinus venosus, right horn. Okay, and they will open inside with the valve. Okay, this is sinoatrial orifice. It will form a valve, right and the left horns. Okay, and now we know there are three vessels opening into each, right? So on the now I want you to understand ki what do they form. The horn of the left horn of sinus venosus with the duct of Cuvier. Okay, this is common cardinal vein, this is called as duct of Cuvier. So left horn of sinus venosus with this duct, it will ultimately form the coronary sinus. Okay, the right vitelline vein. Okay, the right vitelline vein, this right vitelline vein, it will ultimately form the part of superior vena cava. Now the left horn of sinus venosus, this left horn of sinus venosus, it will ultimately form, along with the left common cardinal vein, it will form coronary sinus. Okay, so these two, they will form coronary sinus. Okay, then the left common cardinal vein, the part of left common cardinal vein, it will form oblique vein of left atrium. It will form oblique vein of left atrium. Okay, and right umbilical vein, this right umbilical vein and left vitelline vein, these will be obliterated. Okay, so this is the fate of sinus venosus. This is the same thing which we have already discussed. Now development of interatrial septum. Okay, see, understand the interatrial septum. Now we know, before starting studying any interatrial, interventricular, even sinus venosus, always keep in mind the heart tube. Okay, so these are the heart tubes. So now we know that the interatrial septum, or any other study when we do, we should know this figure. So this is bulbus cordis, this is primitive ventricle, primitive atrium and sinus venosus. Okay, so now this development of interatrial septum, it starts, as you know, that with formation of S loop, this primitive atrium and sinus venosus, it goes posterior superior to the bulbus cordis and primitive ventricle. Okay, so from the wall of this primitive atrium, the development, it starts with development. This is the wall of primitive atrium, and we know that this sinus venosus is opening into it septum spurium, its right and the left horns. Okay, this is right side, this is left side. The septum spurium is having right and the left venous wall. The left wall will merge with the interatrial septum, while the right will enlarge to form the or incorporate in the interior of the right atrium. Okay, now to the right of the septum spurium, from upper part, the septum primum, it will arise. This is septum primum. This septum primum will ultimately grow downwards towards the septum intermedius. So in the lower part, there is presence of the septum intermedius. Okay, so I'll draw here, this is septum intermedius. Okay, this septum intermedius. So septum primer will grow towards the septum intermedius. It won't actually touch, and so there is a gap okay, and this gap will ultimately form the foramen primum. Now, as the development proceeds, this septum primum will ultimately fuse with the this intermedius and leave the foramen secundum. Okay, so this is septum spurium again, its right and the left horns. This is septum intermedius. And this septum primum, it will ultimately now fuse with the septum intermedius. Now this upper gap, this is foramen secundum. Now in between this septum spurium and now this septum primum, there appears septum secundum. With the appearance of this septum secundum, there is formation of a oval foramen in between septum primum and septum secundum. Okay, now this oval foramen is now called as foramen ovale. This is foramen ovale. This foramen ovale is very important because it maintains the flow of blood from right atrium to the left atrium, since the lungs, they are unfunctional. Okay, so now it maintains unidirectional flow. The blood cannot flow from left atrium to the right atrium. Okay, so this is maintenance of the unidirectional flow from foramen ovale. We can see the same thing in this diagram: septum primum, AV cushion, septum secundum, septum spurium. Okay, and we can see the horns of the septum spurium. Okay, the left horn, it will merge with the septum intermedius, while the right horn, it will enlarge and it will incorporate with the right atrium. Okay, with the development of right atrium. Now functions of foramen ovale, we have already discussed this. Now development of atria. First about right atrium. The sinoatrial orifice we have discussed. Left horn merges with the intermediate septum, interatrial septum, while the right horn, it will enlarge and it will form three different, two bands will develop, superior, inferior. The upper part, it will form crista terminalis, while the middle part will form wall of inferior vena cava and the lower part will form wall of coronary sinus. Okay, so this is about septum spurium and the development of right atrium. Okay, now so these are the components of development of right atrium. Next about left atrium. The left atrium is also having rough part and the smooth part. So the smooth part is absorbed part. To start with, there is primitive atrium, that is primitive left half of the atrium, and these are pulmonary veins. These pulmonary veins, they will divide and redivide. Okay. Now as development proceeds, the part of these pulmonary veins, it is absorbed within the wall of left atrium. Okay, and four pulmonary veins, they will open inside the left atrium. Right. So just to summarize, the left atrium, it develops anterior rough part and left auricle develops from left half of primitive atrium, and posterior smooth part develops from pulmonary vein absorbed portion, and ventral smooth part from the left half of atrioventricular. Now the changes, they are seen in atrioventricular canal. It is nothing but a communication between primitive atrium and the ventricle. Okay, that is atrioventricular canal. To start with, it is very large, but as development proceeds, the two septa, they arise from ventral and the dorsal wall of AV cushion. Okay, and they fuse. Because of their fusion, a intermediate septum is formed. On each side of this septum, there is a gap. So just imagine this. This is the ventral wall, this is the dorsal wall, and this intermediate septum is formed. And there is a communication on the right and the left side. This is present in between atria and the ventricle. Okay, this is septum intermedius. This septum intermedius is important in development of ventricle. Okay, so that is AV cushion. Now development of ventricle. The development of ventricle, it starts with the primitive ventricle. Now it develops from, there is a, so this is primitive ventricle. On its posterior aspect this is developing atria, and posterior to that this is sinus venosus. Okay, so now this from the wall of primitive ventricle a muscular septum it appears. Okay, so it is also having rough part and the smooth part. The rough part is from the muscular septum, and the smooth part is the absorbed part of the bulbous cordis. So understand the bulbous cordis, it is having three different parts. The lower part, that is the part it will be absorbed with the ventricle, middle part is conus, and the upper part is truncus arteriosus. Okay, so this bulbous cordis having proximal part which fuses with the primitive ventricle to form bulboventricular chamber, middle part conus, it is outflow part, and the low distal part, that is truncus arteriosus, which will develop spiral septum. Okay, so now the development of ventricle, the ventricle is having three different parts. Okay, muscular part, bulbar part, and the membranous part. The the presence of intermediate septum plays important role in formation of the membranous part. Okay, so now this is cavity of the ventricle, this is absorbed part of the bulbous cordis. Okay, from its both of its walls, the this is atrium, this is sinus venosus on the posterior part of the atrium, and now in the bulbar cordis, this is ventricle. From its basal aspect the muscular septum it will arise. Okay, now on the bulbous cordis from its ventral and the dorsal wall, this is AV cushion. From bulbous cordis the bulbar septum will arise. Okay, so these are bulbar septum. Now they will grow towards each other. This is muscular part, this is bulbar part, but there is a gap, and the gap in between these two, this gap will be filled up by the muscular part. Okay, usually the ventricular septal defect is observed in the membranous part. Okay, this gap will be filled by membranous part. Okay, AV cushion is oblique, it separates anteriorly right and left ventricle and posteriorly left ventricle from right atrium. Okay, now formation of interventricular septum. So this is the same thing which we have already discussed. So the same diagram having three different parts, that is muscular part, then membranous part, muscular part, membranous part, and the bulbar part. Right, now spiral septum. Understand that in the truncus arteriosus, within the truncus arteriosus, a spiral type of septum, it appears in such a way that it forms the aorta in the posterior part in the lower aspect, then to the right in the middle aspect, and anteriorly in the upper aspect. Okay, the septum is spirally situated. Now understand here the concept of transposition of great vessels. Okay, if this septum, it instead of developing spirally in the normal, if it develops in opposite direction, this aorta would be anteriorly in the lower part. Okay, this is transposition of great vessels. Okay, so formation of aortopulmonary septum. This septum, it divides truncus arteriosus into aorta and pulmonary trunk. Two truncal regions appear in the truncus arteriosus, form spiral septum. Okay, we have already discussed its situation. And transposition of ascending aorta and pulmonary trunk may occur due to reversal of spiral attachment of aortic pulmonary septum. Okay, where aorta arises from right ventricle and pulmonary trunk from the left ventricle. Okay, this is all about development of interior of heart. We have covered sinus venosus, we have covered interatrial septum, then interventricular septum. We have also seen that the development of ventricle and the spiral septum. Okay, now what are the anomalies? Okay, we have already discussed the loop formation, how the loop of the heart or the heart tubes is formed. The loop during normal looping, the cephalic limb means the bulboventricular limb, it is displaced caudally, ventrally and to the right, while the caudal limb it is placed to the left. Okay, we have already seen the S shape formation. If it occurs exactly in the opposite side, okay, then the heart which is supposed to be developed on the left side may develop on the right side, and the condition is called as dextrocardia. This dextrocardia, it could be like only dextrocardia, or it may appear as situs inversus. In dextrocardia only, the only heart is on the right side, rest organs in the abdomen they are normally situated. But in situs inversus, all the structure which are supposed to be on the left side they are on the right, and the structures which are supposed to be on the right side they are on the left side. Okay, then ectopia cordis. Okay, now what is ectopia cordis? In this condition, the heart, the anterior thoracic wall fails to develop and the heart is exposed outside. It could be partial or complete. Okay, in partial it may be covered with skin. Okay, so that is ectopia cordis. Prognosis is very poor in this case. Then atrial septal defect. This is asked as a short note. We have already discussed